Hi, I'm Chad with Move4 Guitar. In this lesson, I'm going to show you how to take a drop 2 major 7th chord starting with a 6-string root, and just by moving one note at a time, change it into a dominant 7th chord, then to a minor 7th chord, then to a minor 7 flat 5 chord, and then to a diminished 7th chord. First off, if you'd like the diagrams for this lesson, you can click the link on the screen, or there's also a link in the description, and that'll take you to a free eGuide that we created that's called Fretboard Theory, and that's going to include everything that I talk about in this lesson plus much more, and you can download that for free, so no reason not to just go download it. And I'm working on it right now as I'm filming this lesson, so if it's not out yet, it'll say coming soon. So just watch out for it when it is available. But don't worry, you can still go through this lesson even without the eGuide because all the charts will be on the screen. So what we're going to do, I'm going to take a G major 7. That's what we're going to start with in this lesson. And like I said, I'm going to show you how to turn it to a G7, then a G minor 7, then a G minor 7 flat 5, and then a G diminished 7th chord. And one thing I should mention before we dive into it is you should have a basic understanding of intervals and triads and how triads are built. That's pretty important for this lesson. You can still try to follow along if you don't, but it's going to really help you make the best out of this lesson. So I'll give as much explanation as I can, but I'm not going to dive too deep and make this lesson really long because this lesson I really want to keep about how to turn these chords, turn the major 7 chord into the other chords. So like I said, we're going to start with a G major 7, and it's going to be a drop 2 with the 6-string root, which is this. So this is a G major 7 chord. And so the intervals of a G major 7 chord are root, 3rd, 5th, and 7th. Root, major 3rd, perfect 5th, major 7th. And so in this chord shape, I have my root here under my first finger on the 6th string. Under my 4th finger is the 5th. Under my 2nd finger is the major 7th. And under my 3rd finger is the major 3rd. So that's how this chord is laid out, this voicing. So what we're going to do is take this, and first off we're going to turn it into a G7 chord. So the intervals of a G7 chord are root, major 3rd, perfect 5th, minor 7th, or flat 7. So the only difference between a major 7 chord and a dominant 7 chord is a major 7 chord has a major 7th in it, and a dominant 7th chord has a flat 7 in it. So under my 2nd finger is the major 7th of this G major 7. So to turn this into a G dominant 7, all I would have to do is remove my 2nd finger, and now this note right here, which was an F sharp, is going to drop down to an F. And so that would be a dominant 7. And typically I wouldn't hold it with my 3rd and 4th fingers. I would just rearrange my fingers and hold it like this with these 3 fingers. So all I've done was go from the major 7 that has a major 7th note right here to a dominant 7. It's the exact same fretted notes except I've moved the major 7th down half a step. Now I have a dominant 7. So now I'm holding a G7 chord. Now the next chord I want to go to is a minor 7 chord. So I want to go to a G minor 7 chord. So the only difference between a dominant 7 chord and a minor 7th chord is that a dominant 7th chord has a major 3rd in it, and a minor 7th chord has a flat 3rd or a minor 3rd in it. So a minor 7th is a root, flat 3, 5, flat 7. So all I have to do for this to go to the minor 7th, under my 2nd finger right now is that 3rd, the major 3rd of the G7. Now I just remove that. It's going to lower that note half a step, this B note, down to a B flat. Now I'm going to be playing a minor 7th chord. So here's G7. Lower the 3rd by half a step to a minor 7th, or to a minor 3rd, or a flat 3. And now I'm playing a G minor 7th. So you can hear the difference between those two chords. Now the next chord we're going to go to is a minor 7 flat 5, so a G minor 7 flat 5. And the intervals of a G minor 7 flat 5 are root, flat 3, flat 5, and flat 7, or a root, minor 3rd, diminished 5th, or minor 7th. So the only difference between a minor 7 flat 5 and a minor 7th is that the fifth is lowered half a step. So here I am on G minor 7. Right under my third finger is the fifth of G minor 7th. I just need to lower that half a step to get my G minor 7 flat 5. So now that's a G minor 7 flat 5 just by lowering this D note half a step, which is the fifth of the chord. So G minor 7, lower the fifth half a step, G minor 7 flat 5. Now the next chord I want to go to, the last chord, is a diminished 7th. And a diminished 7th is spelled out root, flat 3, flat 5, double flat 7. Or you can also call it root, minor 3rd, diminished 5th, diminished 7th. So the only difference between a minor 7 flat 5 and a diminished 7th is that the 7th is flatted another step with the diminished 7th chord. In a minor 7 you have a flat 7, in a diminished 7th chord you have a double flat 7. So the 7th is right here under my first finger. I'm barring it right now. So all I'd have to do is lower this note right here half a step. Now that becomes, instead of a flat 7 of the G, it becomes a double flat 7. So I would have to rearrange my fingers and I'd end up with this. So that's a G diminished 7th. And if I hold the minor 7 flat 5 like this, it'll be a little easier to do it. So if I have a G minor 7 flat 5, then I want to lower the 7th one more step. Now I have a G diminished 7th. So now you can see that we've gone from a G major 7th to go to a G dominant 7th. We lower the 7th of the G major 7th. Now we have a G dominant 7th. The next one is a G minor 7th. To do that, we're going to lower the 3rd of the G dominant 7th by half a step. Now we have a G minor 7th. Next one is minor 7 flat 5. So to get to a G minor 7 flat 5, we lower the 5th half a step. There's a G minor 7 flat 5. Then the last one is G diminished 7th. We're going to lower the 7th another step, and then we have a G diminished 7th. So you see I'm able to go from a G major 7th and only lower one note at a time to get to the other chords. I can go G major 7th to G dominant 7th. I only have to move the 7th down half a step. To G minor 7th, I only have to move the 3rd down half a step. To G minor 7 flat 5, I only have to move the 5 down half a step. And then to G diminished 7th, I only have to move the 7th down again half a step. And then you're able to play all those chords, basing it around this major 7th chord and seeing how it works, seeing what notes you can move. And if you're ever confused, as long as you remember where these intervals are, just memorize these intervals, you'll always be able to find those other chords. So if you can start with the G major 7th and reference that, you'll be able to find all these other chords, and it's going to take you a really long way in understanding music and being able to play music. So hopefully this really opens up to your mind to the possibilities of understanding chords and intervals. And check out the other lessons where I'm going to do the same thing with other forms of the major 7th chord on different string sets or with different drop inversions. So check those out as well. Be sure to download that Fretboard Theory eGuide for free that I mentioned. It's going to have all this information and more. And also be sure to subscribe because we add at least one new lesson every day.